it is, first of all, it's rated M for mature, 17 plus. It has strong violence, blood, gore, and language. It has like many sequels to it. They're working on the 6th, which will be out in December, which will be called Halo Infinite. But it is a military science fiction media franchise which centers on an interstellar war between humanity and an alliance of aliens. It's a first-person shooter game played from the point of view of the shooter. Okay. So this case takes place in a town called Willington, Ohio. Daniel Petrick was born on August 24th, 1991. He is currently 30. He was not 30 at the time of the incident, though he was 16, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So, his family consisted of 2 older sisters. There was Holly, who was 1 year older, and Heidi, who was 4 years older. His mother's name was Susan, and his father was Mark. They were a very religious family. The father was employed as the pastor for the New Life Assembly of God. And the family attended church regularly as a family. But they were not said to be like abusive in a religious sort of way, if you know what I mean. Like, you know what I mean. The mother, Susan, was working as a bookkeeper for a nursing home. In the past, the parents had worked together in a group home for teenage children with emotional problems. So overall, they were just known to be a very, very kind and loving couple, liked by everyone. Even looking back himself, Daniel had said the same thing, that he had everything that he wanted and needed basically throughout his childhood, and he was not abused. He did mention that being the child of a pastor, people expected him and the other, siblings to always be very well behaved. You know how that is, right? And he was not too thrilled with that aspect of his youth. But anyway, when he was 16, he went out snowboarding, which was something that he enjoyed doing. He was an athletic boy, also loved hunting with his father. His father always taught him perfect gun safety, though, like never point a gun at anyone. Anyway, so he was out snowboarding, and he had a pretty bad accident, which led to a pretty bad back injury. Now, it's not clear if this was a permanent type of condition. I would think not, but I don't know. He was told that, it was very bad. He needed to basically stay in bed for the most part to avoid it leading to paralysis. And at some point it turned into a staph infection. Because of this, his life drastically changed during his 16th year. And he was spending a lot of time alone and isolated, and was becoming every moment for the most part. His father even said once he played it for 72 hours without sleeping. Only stopped to use the bathroom and would eat a bowl of cereal while he played. Now, you don't have to be a psychologist to know that doing anything for 72 hours straight is very bad for you. You would just become delirious, you know. That's a fact. Try to stay up awake for 72 hours doing anything. It's no good. But anyway. So, his parents spoke to him and they said, no more. This game has got to go. You are not playing this anymore. It is horribly violent and you're becoming obsessed with it, so no more. That's it. You're not playing it. But he didn't listen to them, and he kept playing it behind their backs. And then the newest installment came out, Halo 3, and he had to have it. You know, this was the biggest priority for him at this point, was he had to have that game as soon as it dropped. So he snuck out his bedroom window in the night to go down to the video game store and be one of the first people to buy it. Sadly for him, when he got home, his dad caught him and said, "What? Where have you been? Where did you go?" So he told him, you know, because he was caught red-handed. and his father was still alive, and he felt a terrible numbness in his head and just complete disbelief and bewilderment. And he didn't know that the mother was dead either at that point. Then Daniel said to his father, he said, "Here, Dad, take your gun." He wanted his father to hold the gun. Guess why? I'll let you think for a second on that. Then, all of a sudden, the doorbell rang, which surprised Daniel because he knew that his sister Heidi and her husband were coming over that night to watch the baseball game, the Cleveland Indians against the Boston Red Sox. They were 2 hours early, which basically ruined his plan as we see it, because it seemed that his plan was to shoot the parents, put the gun in his father's hand, leave the house, and then have his sister show up 2 hours later to find the dead bodies and to find the father with the gun in his hand. And then everyone should believe that the father shot his wife and then himself. That was the brilliant, brilliant plan. Or so we believe. So anyway, the doorbell rings. Daniel goes to the door and he says, "Don't come in. Mom and Dad are fighting. Don't come in, just don't come in, come back later." And that didn't seem normal. I mean, when does anyone say that to you when you show up at the home of your parents, you know what I mean? Or anywhere, you know? Don't come in, they're fighting. Like, if they're fighting, then I'm coming in, you know? So anyway, as they're standing there in the doorway, they hear a groan from the father, and they pushed past Daniel, and they walked in to see the scene, which was horribly gruesome, as you can imagine. And they called 911 immediately, and Daniel was saying, "Dad shot Mom, and then he shot himself." And the father had enough energy left in him to, at the very least, tell them that it had been Daniel. Daniel grabs the phone, calls somebody. I believe it was his friend that he called, that he was coming over to play the video game. And then he grabbed the video game, Halo 3. Not the gun, he didn't grab the gun, okay? He grabbed the video game and took off in the car. Meanwhile, the police were already en route to the Petrick house. And when they saw him, they stopped him immediately. They pulled him over, and they saw on the seat beside him the Halo 3 game. And he said to them that his dad had shot his mom. And he was like wailing it, you know. He was, "I'm so upset. Oh, my dad shot my mom." So anyway, he was arrested. And as I said, the mother was dead on arrival, sadly. The father, they took to the hospital. His jaw had been shattered. prosecution, on the other hand, was saying that is inaccurate, that he knew exactly what he was doing, that he had planned this whole thing out, just as we had talked about earlier. He had come up with a plan of having it look like a murder-suicide, so that's not spur of the moment. You know, spur of the moment means you have this emotional rush, you come out and you just shoot, you know, without thinking about anything, without thinking about the consequences or anything. But rather, he had enough time to really plan this whole thing like a person who was really with it, you know, knew what was going on, knew what was right and wrong, and had decided, I'm gonna make it look like this. I'm gonna get out of the house before anyone sees, and then my sister is gonna come and find it, and blah blah blah. Anyway, looks like the prosecution won the case, and he was charged with murder. He was charged as an adult, even though he was 16 at the time. And he got 23 years to life. So he will be eligible for parole when he's 40. Now, what do we think about this case? Why did he do this? I mean, seriously. Could we say that it was a video game addiction that was so fierce that it took over? You know, just like a drug addiction, you know how people will kill so they can get the money for their drugs, right? Because they need it so bad, they need that fix so bad. Could this be the same situation for him? He needed that game so much he would kill for it. Could that be it? I mean, I don't think so. I mean, not that I don't believe it's a type of addiction, but I can't see killing for it. Could the